Okay, so we're going to continue Perek Nun, chapter 50. This one is actually a very, very short Perek, very short chapter, so we'll just go through it from the inside. But I'm going to give you a small introduction. For those especially who are not too familiar with the Tanya, it is a good idea to start from the very beginning, to get a picture of what this book is all about. But very briefly, I would like to say to those who are really interested in learning this, is that the Tanya helps, the Jew especially, to be able to find his way, his path, his unique path in life. It is a good guide to show the individual what he needs to do, what exactly he on his own needs to accomplish. Everyone has a unique mission. And part of the problem of why people are sometimes confused is because they don't realize the potential that they have, the tremendous strength. We all have weaknesses as well. So life is a challenge where one needs to balance his strengths and his weaknesses. Balance meaning that he needs to be able to confront them properly and control those things that impede or give him a hard time and do not make it easy for him to advance and progress and accomplish his mission. The tools are his strengths. But even though he has certain strengths, not everyone knows how to use those strengths, how to perfect them, how to maximize them. Besides showing us the path in life, the Sefer Tanya also is a good guide in how to form a strong relationship with Hashem. As we will see, there are various ways to do it. Even when speaking about meditation, it is important to keep in mind that there's not just one type of meditation. People have different ways of approaching this connection with Hashem, different ways of making this kesher a strong kesher. They're all acceptable. Each one, because of the composition of his soul and because of his unique mission, his approach or his method of how he makes this kesher may be very different from others. This book, the Sefer Tanya, is also a very important book because when one learns it, you can actually see how, as much as the light of Hashem is concealed from us, there is a way to reveal it. It is possible to reveal that light of Hashem. One comes to realize that as distant as Hashem appears to be from us, as concealed as He is from us, nonetheless it is possible for us to reveal it. And not because it's possible, because it's present everywhere, not only because it is really everywhere, but it is possible to reveal simply because a certain aspect of that light is within us. In other words, Hashem is everywhere. Hashem's light is present everywhere, even in this physical world. His presence, however, is not always felt. So the trick here is to realize that there is a part of His light, which we call a spark of Hashem, in us, and that is the neshama, the soul. So it is through the neshama that one can discover Hashem. Now, when we speak about neshama, you may recall that there's different terms used to describe the spirit, the nefesh, the ruach, neshama. Just keep in mind the following. There is a certain nefesh or neshama that is responsible for the chiyut, for the vitality of the human body and of the world, what keeps everything alive. There's a certain godliness in it. Plus, there is the neshama, the divine spark, which is continuously connected to the upper worlds. And that's important because it is through this neshama, this bridge or connection that we constantly have with Hashem, that one is able to tap onto the upper worlds. One is able to reach the spiritual world. And, of course, to experience spirituality as well. The human being has tremendous potential that lies dormant. When I say lies dormant, I mean that every human being has certain abilities that he's totally unaware of, that they exist. But he does become somewhat aware of their existence when he senses that he has a certain desire for certain things, and it just turns out that that same desire that he has for that which is physical happens to be the koach, or that power, that latent power that he has, which is of tremendous potential in the spiritual world. What is that power called? Love, or desire. The retzon, the desire, the will to connect to something that's physical in this world. People have a strong desire to connect. People want to love. And that love is something spiritual in nature. And in the same way that people have a desire or a love for something which is physical in this world, they don't realize, and that's why I call it dormant, they don't realize that that same power that they have and that they use in the physical world to attach themselves to that which is physical, that same power can be used slightly different and expressed in a different manner to connect to the spiritual world. What is necessary for one to become aware of that potential that he has? We're going to see a little bit of that in this perek towards the end. One has to just drive away the darkness that clouds his eyes. Because once the cloudness is removed, cloudness I mean not only physicality, not only materialism, but also sins. The sins act as curtains, the rabbis tell us, and don't enable us to see with clarity that which is spiritual in nature. So once we drive away the darkness, that light of Hashem will be able to permeate even more into us. We will be able to experience something that we never experienced before. But it's not only the experience, it will be easier for the individual who has driven away that darkness to actually connect to Hashem, because he will have automatically the desire of the neshama, of the soul, to connect and to stay connected. The desire of the guf, of the physical body, is for that which is physical. So there's this continuous challenge, a continuous battle between the various forces, the neshama and the guf. So what is required to really, really make a dent, or to make a difference in the human experience in life, is for one to really get a feel of what spirituality is all about. And that's not very easy unless one subjugates, one needs to subjugate his personal desires, his personal feelings for that which is physical. And once he has them under control, it is easier for him to all of a sudden experience a totally different kind of feeling that he was never aware that he had, that he could have. What we will begin to see in this perek is therefore a very powerful connection to Hashem that is called klot hanefesh. Klot hanefesh is where the individual is so in love and so connected that he's about to expire. His nefesh is about to leave that physical body. That's how strong it is. We will see the various levels that exist and somewhat understand a little bit more about the level called klot hanefesh, what it entails, what it's for, what ultimately what do we gain by it. Up until now we saw tremendous high levels of love, different kinds, different expressions of it, different ways of awakening them, even though the common denominator is always going to be a certain degree of meditation, of itbonenut b'Hashem. Still, they are different. There are different modes or different expressions of love for Hashem. And Kilot HaNefesh is very, very unique in that you may think that this is the ultimate sensation that you need to have. And we're going to learn that it's not the sensation that is the goal here. It's the opposite. It's what this sensation leads us to understand, something that we did not understand from before. And that is the importance of staying put in your body and doing the will of Hashem in the physical body. So that's going to be very interesting, because up until now, in the various chapters, we learned about love of Hashem that enables us, that helps us fulfill the mitzvot and learn the Torah with heshek, with enthusiasm, and with, I guess you can say it, with a certain amount of interest and desire. We don't want to just fulfill the mitzvot as though there's something routine. So in order to perform the mitzvot, to learn the Torah, mitoch ahava yirah, out of love and fear for Hashem, one has to develop those levels, and once he's developed them properly, he will have more of a desire or an interest to learn the Torah and to observe the mitzvot. Because you could have two individuals performing the exact same mitzvah, but the way they do it, the interest that they show, the expressions are going to be very, very different depending on how they formed that kesher with Hashem, whether it was out of love or not. So the various forms that we spoke about until now really are very much the same in the sense that they lead us to be able to perform the mitzvot, to learn the Torah with greater heshek, with greater love. So what is the goal there of that love of Hashem? The goal is very clear: to connect to Hashem, for Hashem to reside within us, for it to be a strong, continuous connection. That is the goal of what we've learned so far. In this perek, however, we will see that the emphasis is on a different kind of love that involves, or that is expressed as a thirst, tzimaon l'Hashem. Tzimaon l'Hashem to the point of klot hanefesh, where the nefesh, the soul, wishes to just expire, leave its physical body. Because it senses, it already knows very well that physical body is limiting it. So it doesn't want to be confined, it doesn't want to be limited. The love for Hashem becomes so powerful, so ardent, that it wants to leave and become batel, become annulled with Hashem. So as I said before, we will see that it's not the sensation which is the goal here, even though that is a very powerful experience and sensation. It's not that this is what exactly is desired here. We want to develop a connection to Hashem that is powerful enough that we realize as much as we want to leave, we want to stay put. We want to stay behind, because that is the real goal of why Hashem put us in this world. He doesn't want us up there. He wants us down here. But it is an interesting expression of love because it wants to leave. So that degree is attained, but when that degree is attained, it realizes, I really need to be back in my physical body. This is what is really expected of me. This is where I can accomplish Torah and mitzvot, not there. So it's very unselfish, it's pure, it's ardent, it's powerful. And as we will see it a little bit inside, it is something that not everybody experiences. It is something that needs to be developed, but it is possible to attain. And that is what's I'm always amazed at when I learn about this topic, is that there's something out there that very few people have ever experienced. Something very powerful. A connection to Hashem in such a powerful way, when not only do they have greater clarity about everything, their bodies, or their physical bodies, are completely subdued and under control, to the point that they have no struggle anymore with the evil inclination. As it is written about David HaMelech, that he reached that point, that he conquered, he vanquished his Yetzer Hara. And beyond that point, it is a complete connection with Hashem in the most powerful way that one can ever imagine. So in order to understand just a little bit what he's talking about in this perek, I'm just going to tell you a little bit about what the Kabbalah says concerning two kinds of love. One is called silver and one is called gold. If you recall from the Shiurim on Kabbalah many, many years ago, the Kabbalah describes 10 Sefirot. You recall? 10 Sefirot, 10 emanations of Hashem. It is through these emanations that Hashem interacts with our physical world. Not only with our physical world, he actually interacts with all the worlds. And the light of Hashem is expressed differently through the various Sefirot, which act as kelim that absorb that light. And it is through these ishtalshelut, through the levels of the various worlds and Sefirot, as the light of the Ein Sof comes all the way down here, that Hashem interacts. But in order for that interaction to occur, all along, there's something called tzimtzum that occurs, which we spoke about, that the light of Hashem is contracted. But we don't need to go through all of that now. Here, all we need to focus on is that this interaction of Hashem comes down in 3 kavim, 3 lines: the right, the left, and the middle. The Sefirot. So we have the right kav. The right line is called the kav of Chesed, because it is through this line that we see the Sefirot of Chokhmah, Chesed, and Netzach. Then we have the left kav, the left line, through which we see the Sefirot of Bina, Gevurah, and Hod. So therefore, the right kav, the right line, is called the line of Chesed, which is more representative of that line, and the left line is called the line of Gevurah, which is more representative of that line. So we're not going to talk about the middle ones, just about the right and about the left.
Bina and Gvura.
That's correct. Bina, Gvura, and then Hod at the end of the left line. So up until now, what we've seen was an emphasis on the right line, which is Chesed, which also describes the type of love for Hashem called Kesef, silver. Kesef is from the same root, etymologically speaking, as the word nichsaf. Unichsaf, he longs to go home, like by Yaakov. Lavan tells Yaakov, I realized that you longed to go back home, and that is why you ran away. Right? So, kesef is something that a person longs for, and that is one of the reasons why it's called kesef. They desire, they long for it, they want it very, very much. So, up until now, the types of love that we saw, that we learned about, are more in line with kesef, with silver. To long for Hashem, to long for that connection, up to the point of wanting to stay connected to Hashem at all times. That is beautiful, no doubt about it. But now we're going to be talking about a different form of love that is not just nichsaf, to long for, to be connected, but bibchinat klot hanefesh. It is on the level of almost expiring, which is beyond the guf, beyond the physical body, and that is gold. Now, why gold and why silver? We're not necessarily talking about here how gold is more expensive than silver because it's more precious, because people want it more. It has nothing to do with that. When we describe the difference between gold and silver, we're talking about a different quality. The shine of the gold is shinier than the shine of the silver. The expression of this kind of love that comes through this channel of the left, through Gevurah, is therefore a different mode, a different expression of love that is very different than the one that we're used to up until now, which was more the type of silver. And as we've covered a little bit in the past, the love from the channel of silver is really more from the yesod of mayim, from the element of water, as water flows. And this one, the one from gold, is much more fiery. So here we have water, here we have fire. Just to describe a little bit better how these two are different modes of expression. Both being intense love, just one is prepared to expire and be with Hashem. Leave the body. That is how he feels. That is what he wants at a given moment. Until he realizes, wait a minute, the goal is for me to stay behind. So he has that desire, but then he realizes that he needs to stay behind. So I just gave you a brief introduction. Now let's see inside the perek. Very short perek. והנה כל בחינת המדרגות אהבה הנ"ל, all the ones that we spoke about, the levels of ahava, הן מסתרא לימינה, they are from the right side. Now you understand, because I gave you in the introduction, what does it mean from the right side? Okay, so all that we've covered till now is from the right side. ובחינת כהן איש חסד. And it's also on the level of Kohen, Ish Chesed. Another Kabbalistic term using Kohen, the priest being a man of kindness. Because the avodah of the Kohanim is considered the service of Hashem through Chesed. That's all we can say for now. And it's also Nikra Kesef HaKodashim, the silver that is holy. As you know, silver was used in the temple. Machzit shekel, for example, was of silver, and that is what was contributed. So there's a certain connection here between silver and that which is holy. So this love that we're talking about is the love for the holy, the kesef hakodashim. Why kesef? Milashon nichsof nichsafta levet avicha, as I told you, that you have been longing to return to your father's home. Father here being the Chokhmah. It is through the Chokhmah that we want to observe the mitzvot and learn the Torah. This, remember, is coming from the right line. But there's another aspect of love, ha'oleh al kulana, that goes above all. Kimalat hazahav ala kesef, like the level of gold over silver, in the same way that the love is superior, in the same way that the gold is superior to the silver, in the same way that this love, ole al kulana, it is a much higher or superior form of love than what we've seen before until now. Vehi ahava kirishpei esh, and this love can be described as burning coals of fire. Mibchinat gvurot elyonot. You see, from the gvurot, from the left side, from the higher gevurot. Of where? Of the bina ila'ah, coming or stemming from bina. The hainu shalidehi debonenut. So this is coming about through meditation. Bigdulat and sof baruch hu, and the greatness of Hashem. The kula kameh kelo mamash, but nothing before him is anything. Kilo mamash chashiv. תתלהב הנפש לעיקר תפארת גדולתה, לעיקר תפארת גדולתו, ולהסתכל לה בעיקרא דמלכה. In other words, through the meditation, the nefesh will desire ardently and become excited to want to see the glory of Hashem, the splendor of His greatness, to see the glory of the King. In the same way, a flame. Can you imagine the burning fire or the flame that reaches up? Very, very burning, very, very strong flame that as it's going up, it's so strong that as it's going up, it wants to detach itself from the petilah, from the wick, and from the etzim, from the wood. Shenehazot bahen, where it is holding on to. How is this happening? This is happening through the element of fire in that nefesh, or in the neshama, that is burning. And from that burning sensation, or through the element of fire in the neshama, it reaches the level of tzimaon, thirst. Just like you're thirsty, which is somewhat related to the element of fire. This too, on the level of the soul, from Yesod Ha'esh, because the neshama, as we said before, has Yesodot, has elements in the same way that the physical body has elements. So here we're talking about the element of fire, which describes the characteristic of what this neshama is feeling, or what it wants, or how it expresses itself in a fiery way. And that is why it becomes so excited and so much wants to leave the wick, to leave what's holding on to it, which is representative of the body. And from this it comes to the level of thirst, that it wants more. It wants to get as close as possible to Hashem. As the pasuk says, as the verse says, Tzamea lecha nafshi, that I thirst for you. My soul thirsts for you. And after tzimaon, and after thirst comes what? Then you reach the level called cholat ahava, lovesickness. A person is so intensely in love, it's like he's sick. It's a description of that level of love. And what comes after that? After that, it comes to the point that it wants to expire and disconnect itself. Very hard for people to understand this unless you experience something like this. But as I said in the introduction, it is possible a little bit to get a feel for these kinds of desires or strong connections in the physical world. How you relate to people, how you like someone and you like someone else a lot more, and if he's your child, even more, because it's instinctive. Because a brother and a sister is one level, but we cannot compare them to the love one has for his own children, for one's own parents, or for even a very, very close, good friend that you may have, that you feel very strongly for them, that you long to see them. It's a very powerful feeling that I'm sure you should have had occasionally for something, that you long, that you want to be there. You're excited, you're looking forward. Have you had that kind of a feeling for something? Not for money, I hope. Right? But for something that is special. So, as I said before, this gives us just a little bit of an idea if this is possible in the physical world, the more so in the spiritual world, which is pure, not fake. Here, people can fake it. Here, we have all kinds of things that disrupt our life. And even though, unfortunately, the spiritual connection can be disrupted too, but it's usually a lot more powerful to the point that if you got there, you won't want to let go of it for no money in the world. So that's what he's talking about here. When it comes to the element of fire, it is expressed in a very ardent, fiery way, to the point, the highest point being klot nefesh, that this nefesh wants to leave. As it says elsewhere, Gam kaleta nafshi, my nefesh was about to leave me. So he explains further that this describes the shoresh, mikan yotze shoresh haleviim lemata. This is the root from where the service of the Leviim comes. Now, we were talking before about the service of the Kohen, right? That is called Ish Chesed. In describing the service of the Leviim, he says this is where the root of their service comes from. In other words, through Gevurot. But before he continues on to talk about the service of the Leviim, he adds a very interesting note. And that is that in the future, when Mashiach comes, whoever is a Levi, L'atid sha'olam mit'aleh, when the world is elevated to a higher level, when Mashiach comes, whoever is a Levi now will be a Kohen. The Israelim will become Kohanim, the Leviim will become Kohanim. I'm sorry, the Israelim will be Leviim. In other words, a higher level, the Leviim will become Kohanim. And even the righteous of the nations will have a certain higher level than what they have now in joining us to do the service of Hashem. Everyone will be elevated. So here he's talking about that the Leviim will become the Kohanim. They will join the rest of the Kohanim. As the Ari explains this, on the verse, "V'hakohanim haleviim sha'aleviim shel achshav yiyu kohanim la'atid," the verse in Yechezkel where it describes how the Kohanim will join with the Leviim. In other words, the Leviim of now will join the Kohanim then to do the service in the third temple. V'avodat haleviim, and this service of the Leviim, hayta, what is it for? What exactly did they do? One of the things they did was leharim kol rina v'toda v'shira v'zimra b'nigun v'ne'ima. They raised their voice in song and praise to Hashem through the various instruments that they played as well, and the voice in all kinds of tones and tunes. Why tones and tunes? Because you sometimes have to excite. Sometimes it has to be more emotional, sometimes a little bit more sad, right? That is how songs go. Except for Persian music, it's always sad, no? Anyway. But that was their job, to change the tune and tone depending on what exactly they were singing. Bibchinat retzov vashov. The type of service that they did was on the level of Ratzov Hashov, which is a concept that we briefly covered in the past, that is mentioned in Sefer Yetzirah, of Ratzov means to advance, and Shov to return. Imagine someone advancing, going forward, and then wanting to go back, or restraining himself. So their type of service involved this kind of Ratzov Hashov. Shibchinat ahava azazu, which is pretty much similar to what we're talking about here, a very ardent love. Keshalhevet hayotze mina bazak. It's like the flame that leaves the flash. Bazak is like a flash, where it bursts out and then perhaps recedes. Keshalhevet hayotze mina bazak. Kedita b'gemara b'perek bet hagiga. So this flash that comes out in such a powerful way, he says, it's very difficult to explain how this is and how it feels in written form. I can't describe this, he says, in written form. Rakol ish nilbav, very interesting how he describes here who can feel this. Kol ish nilbav, anyone with a good heart, with a pure heart, Benavon, who has understanding, Hamaskil, who's intelligent, Al-Davar, who realizes what this is all about, Uma'amik, and he delves deeply, Lekasher da'ato tvunato, to connect his da'at and his tevuna. In other words, Chochma, Bina, Vadat, that he has. Bashem. In other words, he applies himself in a very, very strong way to be able to understand on his level as much as he can Hashem, to connect with him. Yimtza tov, he will find the good. The or haganuz benafsho, and that hidden light in his own nefesh, hamaskelet, the nefesh that is endowed with understanding. Kol had lefum shivorad, everybody according to his level. Different levels of neshamot, different levels of spirituality that people have attained in their life. So people will experience and people will be able to come to this kind of level of connection to Hashem according to their level of their neshama and depending on the various approaches that they use. Because he says, Yesh mitpa'el v'yesh mitpa'el. There's different kinds of people who will experience different things, some more, some less, some this, some that, in different ways. Not everybody will experience the same. So, the point here is that this type of an experience, which is in describing as kelot hanefesh, as the soul wanting to expire, is something that can be attained, can be experienced, but it's difficult to describe because everyone will ultimately feel it differently according to their level, according to their spiritual, degree, according to their degree of spirituality. And all of this will be on condition, אחרי קדימת יראת חטא, להיות סור מרע בתכלית. This is all on condition that prior to this, the individual made efforts to cleanse himself of sin. שלא להיות עוונותיכם הבדלים. So the sins should not act as partitions or as barriers to separate us from Hashem. As has been explained several times, it is the sins that cause the greatest distance between the Jew and Hashem. And as a result of that, the prayers are unheard sometimes. They're not received. And this is not only for Jews. Even the world experiences tremendous disasters, as we know of these days, because of that distance. Whenever that distance is very great, Hashem sends a sign, that you're becoming more and more distant. And this is, of course, as a result of people's ma'asim, people's deeds, that midat hadin, the attribute of justice, overtakes and carries out judgment. This is the way the world is created. This is the way it functions. And this is to let us know that something is not right. If human beings would be more connected to Hashem, the whole world would look like a completely different world. There would be beracha, there would be shefa, there would be blessing, there would be continuous flow. And this is something that the world has not seen ever since the Beit HaMikdash was around, what it means to have beracha. Very soon, B'ezrat Hashem, it will be rebuilt, and they will see it. In the meantime, the distance has become greater as a result of no Beit HaMikdash. As a result of the service of Hashem today in the world is lacking. It's not as strong as it was in the past. There are still a lot of good people who are doing very good deeds, but it's not enough. And that is why he puts an emphasis that all of this is on condition that all the sins have been removed. Otherwise, it's impossible for the individual to ever experience, ever have this kind of a spiritual feeling in connection to Hashem. He may want it, but it won't happen. הנה סדר העבודה בעסק התורה והמצוות, the order of the service of Hashem in learning the Torah and doing the mitzvot, הנמשכות מבחינת אהבה עזה, זו, that come or that are derived from this tremendous love, היא מבחינת שוב לבד, כמו שכתוב בספר יצירה. So the service of Hashem that comes about through this type of love is only through the level of shuv. Remember we said before, there is ratz v'shov. There is advancing, wanting to go ahead, and there is coming back. This type of love is so great that in order to be able to come to the Seder Avodah in learning of Torah, it can only be shov. It can only be if it goes back and returns. Because what is the initial desire over here? The initial desire of this individual who has reached this level of love is, I want to leave, right? I want to connect to Hashem. I want to completely leave the body, expire. But then it comes to a point where we realize, no. I want to return. I want to be around. I want to serve Hashem down here below. So that's what he's saying here, that the service of Hashem, coming through this love, in the end, is only in the aspect or level of shav, of wanting to return. It is not a continuous longing of wanting to get closer and closer to Hashem, as we had till now. This one is so powerful that it comes to the realization that it doesn't just want to go up ahead and just leave. On the contrary, the main goal is to stay behind. As it's written in Sefer Yetziah, Vimratz libecha shuv le'echad. In other words, if your heart runs ahead, go back to Hashem. Go back to the one who's one. Pirush, Vimratz libecha. If your heart runs, Hichukat ha-nefesh shebalev ha-halal. L'halal emini. That's the desire that the nefesh has on the right ventricle of the heart. Keshem mitgaberet, when it becomes very, very strong. Umitlahevet umitlahet, and it becomes excited. And it's ardent. Me'od me'od ad kilot ha-nefesh, so much so that it wants to expire. Mamash lishtapech el chek aviyah, to just spill itself out, pour itself out to her Father in heaven. Chayeh Hayim, the life of life, in other words, the one who gives life. Baruch Hu. Velatzet mimasara, and to leave the confines of the guf, baguf, the physical body, agufani, vigashmi, the physical and material body. Ledaveko bo yitbarach, and to attach itself to Hashem. Azai zot yashiv elibo. This is what it has to think about at that moment when it wants to expire and leave the physical body. And that should be what the rabbis tell us in Pirkei Avot. Now here he's going to quote what it says in Pirkei Avot, but explain it, interpret it in a Kabbalistic way. Because this is what the person should think at the time that he wants to leave. That he's so in love that he'd rather die, he'd rather expire. And the rabbis tell us no. The rabbis tell us, Ki al krochach ata chai beguf hazeh. You have no choice in the matter. You are brought down into this world against your will. Le'achyoto, to put life into this physical body, kidei lamshich chayim elyonim, to draw the life from above, mechayah chayim, from the source of life, Baruch Hu, lemata down here, alidei torat chayim, by learning the Torah, liyot dira betachtonim le'achduto, so that Hashem should have a dwelling place down here below, so that His oneness should be recognized here, b'bchinat gilui, in a revealed state, as we've already explained, and as it says in the Zohar, lemeh be'echad be'echad, that the one should be together with the one, meaning Pidusha Yehud HaNe'elam, that oneness that is concealed, yeh b'bchinat alma di'itgalya, it should become revealed. It should come down into this world and become revealed in this physical world. And that is the meaning of Lechadodi. What do we say in Lechadodi? In a Kabbalistic sense. Lechadodi likrat kala. Dodi is a term of endearment. And kala reminds us of kilot hanefesh, even though it means the bride. But it also reminds us of the other word. When the soul is about to expire, it wants to come out. We tell it, come back and stay behind. And be in your physical body, because that is the place to observe Torah mitzvot. Not over there. Not in the kever, in the grave. This is the place to be. This is the place to bring down the divine presence. So now he explains, B'zeh yuva ma'amar chazal. Now we can understand what the rabbis meant in Pirkei Avot when they said, Ata chai, al krochach ata chai. You live against your will, v'al krochach ata met. and you die against your will. We have no choice in the matter. It's a big sin for a person to commit suicide, to throw away that gift of life that Hashem has given him. After all, each human being has a special mission. So the rabbis tell us, you have no choice in this matter. Being brought down into this world, neither do you have a choice not to leave. I want to stay. No, everybody leaves. So that is the simple meaning in Pirkei Avot. In other words, those things are not in our control, in our hands. We come into this world because Hashem so wanted, and we leave this world at the appointed time. But Kabbalistically, he says the interpretation is like this. What the rabbis meant, Al kochach ata chai v'al kochach ata met, was you are in a situation where you're being asked to do the opposite of where you really want to be. Al kochach ata chai, because you may have the desire to want to expire and leave. Al kochach ata chai. In other words, you have to realize that you need to stay behind. On the other hand, al kochach ata met. So we have here what appears to be a contradiction, two opposites. On the one hand, the nefesh demonstrates, the nefesh displays an interest in wanting to expire, in wanting to leave, and it's being reminded, no, you need to stay behind. Then you have the other way around. You may have a want to stay, but in the end, you're being reminded that you need to leave. So he says, so what should exactly be his desire? To stay? In other words, to stay behind? Or the other desire, to expire, to want to leave? Which one is it? Each one is expressing a different kind of goal. One is that the nefesh wants to leave and is told, no, against your will, you need to stay behind. And one which doesn't want to stay behind, wants to stay here, and he's told, no, but you need to leave. You need to go. See what I mean? It's two completely different and opposite ideas. And which one is it? But he says this is explained and elaborated a little bit more barichut on this Mishnah in a different place. As it says in the Mishnah, Al kochach ata chai be'ezrat chayei chayim baruch hu, through the help, of course, of the one who gives life. This is the perek, a very interesting point that he makes towards the end, that as much as a Jew wants to connect to Hashem, and that is something that everyone should long for. There's no argument about that. That is what we all need to aspire for. And that is what Kriyat Shema is all about, as we said last week. To connect to Hashem, to love Hashem, and that is what the Torah and the Mitzvot do for us too. They are our umbilical cord in a sense. Still, the right perspective, the right outlook is that all of that, as much as we have that in the upper world, where we are enjoying the Ziva Shekhinah, where we are very close to Hashem, and we want to get there too in the end. Everyone wants to. Still, he says, appreciate and realize the importance of this physical world, for which we have a chance for 70 years, 80 years or more to fulfill our mission and bring about the revelation of Hashem in this physical world. In other words, that is ultimately what we should focus on, not in the Olam Haba, not on Gan Eden and the reward that is coming for us, not even on the sensation or the experience that one has in loving, in wanting to be close to Hashem. Not even that. Ultimately, what we need to focus and concentrate on is on observing the Torah and Mitzvot in this physical world, by which, when we do that right, we will be able to bring down Hashem into this world. That light of Hashem that is concealed can become much more revealed in this physical world through the observance of Torah Mitzvot. By whom? By the Jewish people. And unfortunately, you realize that because we did not always do a good job, that is why the darkness is still so much around the world. And that is why we get the blame for what happens in the world, because it's our responsibility. An incredible, incredible idea of how powerful man's actions are, how meaningful they are, Jew and non-Jew, that they make a tremendous difference in this world, but especially in the connection to Hashem. In other words, not only does the world look different, but a person's life could be very, very much impacted by how connected or not he is to Hashem. And the way to do that, the way to become connected, is through Torah mitzvot. In other words, there's no other way. However, in order to bring that about and make that connection strong, it requires itbonenut. It requires a certain amount of meditation, and that is almost limitless, because it is through that same mechanism called meditation that we just saw. One can reach different kinds of levels of love to Hashem until he expires, until he wishes to expire. But even so, even though he has reached that level, that's not the goal, to expire and to feel great. You know, he doesn't talk about it, but I've briefly spoken about it in the lecture about religions of the world. All kinds of other religions strove to get out of the physical body. This physical body full of vice and desire is so difficult on the neshama. Now, let's do anything we can to just leave it. You know, float in the air and do all kinds of things to escape it. No. Where Judaism is very different than all the other religions, this body is to be sanctified, not to let go of it, not to deprive it. Don't fast. Don't hurt your physical body. This is the vessel for the service of Hashem, through which you will do mitzvot and learn Torah. If you do everything right, you will elevate this physical body too. You will, together with the neshama, become elevated and experience a very powerful love of longing and wanting to be close to Hashem, and eventually perhaps even wanting to expire. But realize the importance of why you were given this vessel. It is in this physical world where we need to have a physical body to be able to perform the mitzvot of Hashem. And it's not just an exercise, a drill to perform. This is what transforms the world into a dwelling place for the Shekhinah.